Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Holy Grail BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com. And we have a very special edition of the podcast for you today. If you're watching live, you can see a whole lot more faces in this room than normal. And if you're looking and you're a Bearcat fan, you probably recognize a lot, most, if not all of these names. I'm Chad Brendel. He's Aaron Smith.
What's up?
Dave Simone's got some family stuff going on, so if he can get in here, he will. But if not, I know Aaron Smith will fill in admirably. But let's go through the list. Jason Fabini.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Former tackle for the Bearcats in the late 90s, early 2000s. Garrett Campbell, former offensive lineman from the late 90s through the early 2020s.
Never getting over it.
Wow. Ben Mauk, quarterback for the first Brian Kelly year, 2006. Ben, do you know what moment, if I told you one moment was one of my favorite moments in UC history of yours, would you know what it is?
Yeah, I remember watching in 2006 when they beat Rutgers, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I didn't like Greg Schiano and how they treated the Navy team the week before they beat us. And so their motto is always keep chopping when things were going bad. And so once I knew we beat them, I made sure I went to their sideline and chopped a lot of wood for them in front of their coaching staff.
One of my absolute favorite moments in UC history. Terry Grooms, defensive lineman, linebacker, also played against Jason Fabini. They were opposite each other back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And you two guys, we'll get into this, were on the first bowl team in, 47 years?
47 years, man, the Humanitarian Bowl.
And that one is one that people still talk about to this day.
Great place to go play a bowl game, middle of nowhere.
Zach Edwards is with us, and Zach, the all-time leader in starts at Cincinnati, and one of the all-time leaders in tackles as well. Zach played 50 games as a Bearcat. He started 50 games. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Not too bad. And then we have, of course, Tom DeTemple joining us. Tom, what years exactly were you?
2007 to 2011. So I was part of Brian Kelly's first recruiting class and played with Butch Jones for 2 years as well. So
did Butch have the golf cart by the time you graduated?
I don't think so. That might be a new thing. I don't know. That was probably Bob Mangines at the time, but
no, Butch had a golf cart with speakers that Zach knows that he would drive around and play like crying baby sounds and
big fan of crowd noise. Big fan
of crowd noise. And then finally, Ladaris Vann played wide receiver from 1999 to 2002, 2,483 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, 204 receptions. How you doing, Ladaris?
214 receptions.
That's what I said. Did I say 214? I'm sorry.
I said 204.
Oh, 204. I'm sorry. I shorted you 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to short you 10.
Got him.
Let's nobody wants to be short in stats. I get that.
I feel cheated on.
Hey, you know how long it took them to get them 10 catches on there? It took about 11 years after I left. About 11, 14 years.
Did you have to take them video? Like, you missed these 10. Was it one game that they missed?
No, actually, somebody wrote an article about it. The mysterious missing catches of Ladaris Vann. Somebody wrote an article about it. And yes.
That's fantastic. So first off, Tom, Terry, you guys are kind of helped spearhead this thing with Cincinnati Football Letterman's Club. I want to get to that first. This started right around when Luke got here, right? The Letterman's Club.
Yeah, so a bunch of guys came together, and we just wanted to build the former player, Letterman's Club, and give guys the opportunity to come back when they want and have a place to go with coaching changes and things like that. So we really just, grassroots type of thing, and got a bunch of guys together, and got a tailgate going, and we've got that established. Every week we have a place where guys can come and hang out before the games, and every player gets a ticket to the game, a season ticket. So we've made a lot of progress in building that support from the former players and making sure that every single former player feels a part of the program still and is able to come back and relive the glory days. So we've made a lot of progress. Obviously, this year helps, and the past 5 seasons with Fickle, keep building it, getting the guys performing really well. It helps to get people involved. So Terry has been a good help with getting guys from the earlier years, and my connections with the more recent players. But Terry and guys like J.C. Baker and Fabini have all been back and really helped grow this. So it's been a lot of fun.
And if you're a former player and you want to get involved, there's no favoritism. Everybody is allowed back. They even let Craig Carey hang out most games, which is a questionable decision. And Ben shakes his head. He knows. He was in that room.
Yeah, Craig's one of a kind.
Ricochet shots at Craig. I had to get those in. Jason, you were in first. We'll start with you. And you guys can all chime in off of this, because I think this is what everybody really wants to know. What has watching this all play out? What is watching this season unfold and seeing the Bearcats get to the college football playoff? Seeing I think today was one of the bigger moments of all of this, with 4 first-team academic All-Americans. So not only is this team being successful on the field, they're having great success off the field, and just taking the foundation that you guys laid and building upon it.
Well, I think for me, it's a sense of pride. I have kids that are 24 and 21 and 18, and it's awesome for me to turn on the game and be able to watch it and be able to go back to the games and see them, to root for Cincinnati. We're going to go to the bowl game, and we're excited about that. And it's prideful. I live in Indiana, so there's a lot of Notre Dame and Indiana fans. It was wonderful this year to go up Notre Dame and beat those guys. I'll tell you that. No better feeling that all those Golden Domers here. So it definitely prideful, and I think it's been a long road. When me and Terry were there, it was our first bowl game in 47 years, and there were some rough times, and I think there were a little rough times after that. But I think the guys that came after me and Terry, we kind of helped it, and those guys brought it along, and it's unbelievable, really, today to say that we're playing in the BCS Final Four. It's great. It's unbelievable. It really is. I'm excited, and I know all the guys I played with that I talked to are excited. I talked to a couple guys today, like Zach Sweeney, Mike Roberts, and a couple guys we're going to meet down at the game, and we're excited. It's awesome. It really is.
Anybody else?
I think to echo what Jason is saying, or what Jason has said is spot on for the majority of the, if not all. I think I can speak on behalf of all of the 89 to 90. My freshman year was 1992. So those guys coming off of the death penalty really deserve a lot of the credit. You don't see a lot of names. You don't see a lot of accolades for those guys, but they did I'll use a phrase that I probably shouldn't, but they did the yeoman's work of being committed to the program, being committed to the weight program, being committed to their academics, and making sure that guys like me, when I came in, and guys like Fabini, our core group of guys that we had, stayed committed and understood what it took when you came to the University of Cincinnati. Because I don't care, and folks that I'm friends with on Facebook see what I post on Facebook about the University of Cincinnati football program. It might not be in some, in the SEC, and God love the SEC, God loves them, but we play just as good, if not better, brand of football, and we can compete with anybody. We respect everybody, but we fear no one, and that's exactly what the mentality is of every single player that has come through this program since I got here in 92.
Ladarius?
That's a great point, Terry. One thing about, I would say, this is one gripe that I have about UC, and I love UC to death. I'm going to be at the game. This is the most excited a lot of people ever been about UC. And I'm excited. You know what I mean? I brought my tickets that Monday that I knew we were going. I got my tickets. So I'm taking my 7-year-old to the game. He's excited about UC. That's all he talk about, UC. But I think it's a disconnect from a group of years that helped build UC to this point. You know what I mean? And, you know, you have your Antoine Peaks. You have your, you know what I mean? You have them guys. They was good. I'm not just going to point out myself, you know what I mean? But Antoine Peak, why, you know what I mean? This is something that we have. I know, Terry, you're not in this particular group, but we got a younger group of UC page where we talk about why Antoine Peak name is not in the ring. You know what I mean? He had the most block kicks. He was, when you knew UC, you knew Antoine Peak. And I think we got a disconnect, or some guys are missing. We are missing some important years in UC history that no one never talks about. You know what I mean? And then me, myself, I own that record for how many years? 15 years. And you never hear my name. You know what I mean? So it's great that where we at. I'm glad that them guys, cornerbacks, got the accolades that they did, because that's very big for our school. You know what I mean? I'm glad we got in the Big 12. We're in the Big 12. Yes.
Big 12.
The Big 12. That's amazing.
Big 12, heck yeah.
So that's amazing. I like, man, what they have done to that school is is amazing. Like, and I try to come back every homecoming. I try my best to come. Only homecoming I missed maybe 2 in the last 8 years. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I try my best to get there as much as I can, you know, that my kids no longer live there. But, you know what I mean? We do have to talk about the people that built this foundation. And we lack that.
I think everyone would agree that they need to do a better job with that. I mean, there's nobody from 08 and 09 that are in the ring that went to the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl.
Exactly. Yes.
So there does need to be an effort, and it's the same way. You could get basketball too. Like Steve Logan's not on the wall.
Man. Oh man,
Danny Fortson's not on the wall. Like
exactly.
they have to do a better job recognizing the greats. And I think hopefully with this new administration, I think they understand some of that, and hopefully we'll see that get corrected.
Is Tony is the quarterback Tony Pike? What is
Pike's not up there. They haven't put anybody.
I will say this though, guys. You know, I my last year was 97, and it's come a long way for alumni. Now it's I mean, it's great. I mean, you can go to a game and you can see former players from you can see them from the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up to the guys that just played. So I think that is wonderful. It really is, and they treat you well, and it's way better than I think that I ever could imagine.
We're getting there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that, and it takes time, and you know, you got to be successful, I think, for that to happen too. Because when you're successful, everybody wants to come, and
right.
And then that's happened the last 4 or 5 years, or maybe the last 10 years. It really has. That you want to actually go back. Well, if we were 2 and 10 or 1 and 11, not a lot of guys would want to come back.
Right. I think Luke, like I've talked about this with Luke. I've talked about it with Wes Miller. We've seen Wes Miller do it a lot on the basketball side as well. Guys that come from places like North Carolina and Ohio State, like they understand that. Like they live it. They lived it. And I think they have a good grasp of what the brotherhood means, not just who you were with, but the guys before you and the guys after you. I think Luke has, made a concerted effort to do a much better job. Tom, you could probably speak to that with everything you've done with CLFC. It seems like he understands that at a pretty high level.
Yeah, and kind of to talk about what Ladarius said, like every former player should feel that they have the right to go up to the Lindner Center and walk in and introduce yourself to the new staff. And I think that would mean a lot to them that, you need to show support too. So it goes hand in hand, and I think we're getting there. When we talk to Coach Fickle, he's completely on board with former players being around, going to practices, and our unit is going to be that kind of connection where if anybody wants to go back to practice games, whatever, you can contact us and we can let the team know. So it's not like you're just showing up off the street and they're like, who is this dude? So, I think that we just need to get a better stream of communication. That's what we're working on. And I think, to echo everybody, we're all excited. Obviously, having a good team, it's easier to follow. It's more, you start feeling really good about being a former player. So, and I think, just keep building off of, the success that the team has had right now, that we can get guys to go to this game and experience, competing for a national championship. Every single former player is part of that. I don't care. Fickle has built a monster here, but everybody before that time has built the foundation of Cincy, and those buildings that are there now is something that we helped build. So everybody should feel good about that.
Garrett, I want to hit on you real quick because you played for Luke. Like you played for Luke Fickle.
Yep. And that's one thing that I was, going to jump in and say back to the original question, just how we're feeling. I was, grateful and honored to kind of get a taste of what it was like to play under that staff. And, everybody's like, oh, they came out of nowhere, they're doing so great. But for me, it's so fascinating because when I was there, I had that little kind of taste of what it would be like. And I knew the staff had so much potential, and I knew the guys had so much potential, and to kind of watch it grow and blossom to what it is now, for me, is something incredible. Seeing now, I think this is the last class that I actually played with. Those freshmen when I was a senior are now finally becoming seniors themselves. And, for me to see them grow and develop under that staff, I knew the potential was there. So for me, it's kind of our opportunity to be in the playoffs and everything is kind of validation for me. And I think the one thing that I remember telling my parents after attention training in our, first 2 weeks, it was miserable and nobody really liked it. But I think I told my parents, I said, you know what? I am only unhappy, sad about one thing, is that I couldn't have this staff my full 5 years here. And it's just great to see it.
Zach, you were still on campus, but you weren't on that first team. Were you laughing at them when they had to get up at 5 a.m. and go to attention training?
Yeah, definitely. But it was like Garrett said. I played with a lot of those guys. A couple of those guys that are still on the team now. For me, it's just, it's really exciting. Like somebody opened up earlier on my house, like a brotherhood. Even now, it's like watching my little brothers do something that I always wanted to do. You know what I mean? And it's very exciting for me. It's also very exciting to see, like you talked about the academics, seeing Mr. Lucky there, Miss Carey still there, and they're all pushing these guys as much as they pushed us, and then to see it fruition for them, I know they have to be feeling tremendous. Also with the training staff, a lot of the training staff was there when I was there. To see them actually, because they had to deal with what we had to deal with my 4 years there. So to see them actually doing great things, man, it's great. I know they feel wonderful. I feel wonderful for them. But yeah, like Garrett said, it's very exciting. It's extremely exciting.
Ben, I want to get to you real quick. You transfer. You're in the process of transferring from Wake Forest. Brian Kelly is new at Cincinnati. You're an Ohio kid. What was it that got you to Cincinnati? What was it that made you think and believe that this was the spot for you?
Well, I had broke my arm and dislocated my throwing shoulder, and I through my dad's connections, being a high school coach, I was going to Minnesota, and that's kind of where I was headed. And then Glenn Mason got fired that year, so I didn't know where I was going to go. And then I was up in Pittsburgh with one of my friends, kind of looking at the campus and so forth. And actually, I called out to an NAIA school in Missouri and was like, if I just go have fun, play. My sister goes to school here, and just kind of write out my last year of college football. And then Tim Hinton, coach, or Tom DeTemple's favorite coach, he coached high school pretty close to where I'm from in Ohio, and reached out to my dad and said, hey, Coach Kelly's the new coach here. He's going to keep me on staff. We'd like to have Ben here. And so Coach Kelly called me when I was in Pittsburgh at the mall and said, hey, we'd like for you to come to Cincinnati. And at that point, I'm like, NAIA school or Cincinnati. And the only thing that flashed through my mind was, watching the fans rush the field against Rutgers. I was like, hey, something's going on there, and I'd like to be a part of it. So I just told him on the phone right there I was coming, and then ended up at Cincinnati. And I think what people are alluding to is, Cincinnati kind of been knocking on the door for a while. When I got there, I remember talking to Mike Daniels on the field at a spring practice, and he said, I was like, man, this place probably gets pretty loud during the games. And he said, he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, Mauk, ain't nobody come to Cincinnati games. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, the Bengals are here. If we win, people will come. He's like, no, they're not going to come. He said they even filled like the first 20 rows with these advertisements. And I chose not to believe that. We started winning, we were 6-0. And we were playing Louisville that I forget what night it was, but the stadium was packed. There's people sitting in trees trying to watch the game, and kind of the atmosphere changed. And then they go to the Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and then Coach Kelly leaves. And then it's like, what's going to happen next? And I think in Ohio, everyone's Ohio State fans. And so I think people wanted to be full-on Cincinnati fans. You still have those loyal fans, but the people kind of split between the two. And now you've seen like it's kind of established, and that's testament to guys like Fabini and Grooms and everyone that came in the past. But now it's kind of an established, and okay, hey, we can fully be Cincinnati fans and be confident that when we play Notre Dame, we're going to beat them. When we play Georgia, we're going to beat them. Whereas in the past, it was just kind of knock on the door, and that coach was going somewhere else. Where I think a lot of people are more solidified, and with the growth so fast, you see the Letterman's Club and kind of trying to catch up to the speed of everything else. Because when I was there, Coach Kelly was more business. We didn't talk to the former players as much as I'm sure they do now. But I think, just through Facebook and emails, I always get the Letterman emails and so forth. And it's just fun to read them. And I think there's more of a continuity that's growing, and that's testament to Tom and Jason and all those guys that are doing that. So I think it's just catching up with how fast the program's grown here in the last few years.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ben. Try going to a game in 1995. See how many fans were there then.
Yeah, that's what Mike Daniels said. He said we played Penn State here. He said Penn State came to the stadium, and he said nobody was here.
I think Terry, when we played, Kentucky came in with Tim Couch, and it was all blue.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I mean. I was just watching the Notre Dame game on TV and seeing, all the red and black there, and it was,
just a sight for great eyes.
Yeah,
man.
And then for me, I live in Missouri, so I still have the 2008. I came back and kind of helped on staff, and I still have all the staff shirts. So I wear those at school all the time, and all the kids in my class, my first couple of years here, like, why are you wearing a Chick-fil-A shirt? And now they're like, hey, Cincinnati. Now it's everyone, hey, Cincinnati going to win this week. Who do they got this week? You think they can win it all? Can they beat Georgia? Can they, it's everything's kind of changed out here, even in Missouri, and especially with them going to Big 12, people are starting to ask questions, and I just think, everything's headed in the right direction. And I think the Letterman's Club's doing a good job of catching up to it and getting people involved.
So what was it like for you guys being a part of maybe the biggest social media movement that this school has ever seen, as Travis Kelce changes his profile picture, and all of a sudden it was just it wasn't a wave, it was a tsunami of everyone changing their pictures and just kind of taking over social media with the CPAW?
I'll go first because I wanted to change my picture to a lot of different pictures, but my wife said if I changed the picture for me and her in our wedding day that I was in trouble. So I was not allowed. That was like the worst time because I'm like, hey, everyone's Cincinnati, all this stuff's going on. I was like, look, everyone's doing it, and she's like, if you change our picture, she goes, you're in trouble. So I was not able to do that, but I like seeing everybody else's picture.
That's outstanding.
Well said. No, I thought it was awesome. I changed my picture. I put two of my buddies up there, Joel Dolinsky and Pierre Brillant. We were big offensive linemen back in the day, and I put that picture up there, and it was amazing all the comments I got. It was really awesome. And to see everybody else's.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not a huge social media guy. You won't see me on Instagram or Twitter or anything's a whole lot. And the way I found out was I had 4 or 5 buddies that were texting me. They're like, hey, you're going to put up a picture? What picture are you going to choose? Things like this. And I was like, what's going on? And then it wasn't until I got on Twitter and started scrolling and seeing everybody. And it was just an overwhelming feeling. And when I changed my picture and, I'm looking at all these former Bearcats and you just see Bearcat Nation, coming out and supporting and liking all these photos and everything. It was just such a special moment for me to kind of see, how far we've come.
I think the only problem with the social media movement with changing the pictures is some of the older guys, they didn't have cameras back then. So
It was tough finding a couple pictures of us.
Dude, listen, I'm an IT guy by trade. So I save everything. I have 7 hard drives ready to go at any given time. But it took me about 3.5 hours to find one freaking picture from my UC days, because we didn't have folks on the sidelines like they have now. They have 8 cameramen over here and 6 cameramen over here, and the videographer. They got it all going on now. So
I think, Terry, I had to take a picture of a picture to put it on there.
Yeah, I bet going through some of the newspaper clippings is a little harder.
My favorite
But
one
yeah,
was,
I thought that movement was awesome. Seeing all the guys change their profiles. I mean, I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all that, but no one really cares what I have to say, so I don't post much. But as soon as I saw that happening, I was like, I got to jump in on this and embrace what's going on and support it. And I don't know, even seeing some of the stuff that has just been trending through this entire season, like that "Pump It Up" song. I mean, just they started that, and now like every team's doing it because they're seeing how we're acting in the stadium, and it's cool just to see everything that's taken off this year. So you just got to ride it and enjoy it.
It's amazing.
I think the craziest part about that was just that it was organic and like nobody really planned it, and it just happened completely naturally, just following Travis Kelce. So it was, as an outsider, just watching it happen, it was just completely fantastic to take in.
There was a huge buildup. Bobby, you finished last season like they did. You go undefeated in the regular season. You win the conference championship. You lose a heartbreaker in the Peach Bowl. But the buildup was immense coming into the season. But I don't think it was really until, and Ben mentioned the Notre Dame game, I don't think it was really until the clock hit 0 against Notre Dame where the fan base looked at each other and all went, oh, man, like,
we're here.
This might be real. What was that feeling through the former players? Not only, obviously, seeing that sea of red in Notre Dame Stadium, but that realization of this is within their reach. Like, is it still unlikely? Yeah, because of the way the system is set up. But these guys are going to give themselves a chance to make history.
Well, I think without a doubt, going to that Notre Dame game, just seeing all the red and up big at half, and God, you're thinking in the second half, what can we do to maybe give the game away, or how can Notre Dame come back? But it was unbelievable to walk out of that stadium at the end of the game and hear all the UC fans with the UC chant, and it was like, wow, we're close. I mean, like you said, the system's not set up for it, but in the end, it worked for us.
Anybody else with just the feeling of what it was like seeing that team go to Notre Dame and win?
I know for me, so my dad's a huge Notre Dame fan. He's always been. Don't know why, but it was amazing for me because I didn't actually get the chance to go to the game, so I was watching it. But I was watching it actually on campus, and to see how many people were on campus actually watching and partying for that game, like literally locked in for all 4 quarters, it was amazing. And then to see, like they kept panning in on the red that was up in South Bend. It was great to see for me. I was excited. I mean, wish I could have been in that atmosphere because it was something that I haven't seen. I mean, we had that blackout against Miami here in Nippert, but to see all that red at Notre Dame was just phenomenal.
I think probably the last time the fan base traveled that well to just an away game was probably Pitt, right?
That one's got to be number one. I mean, I wasn't able to make it either, but seeing they would cut back from commercials and the stadium was echoing with "Let's go Bearcats." I mean, it just gave you chills. It was like, I mean, we are controlling this game right now. If we can close this out, this is a huge college football statement. And like Garrett was talking about earlier, building that foundation, it's like we finally broke through. We proved that we can play with the big boys, and they took care of business the rest of the season. So, undefeated season, that game, was awesome earlier in the season, but as it went on, it looking back and how well they played, it was like, man, if we can really get in the playoff, we can make some noise.
Well, I think Tom makes a good point too. Is you win that game, and you think, is there going to be a letdown after that? And there wasn't. And the guys came ready to play, and coaching staff had them ready to play, and knew that they're playing. Go to play wherever Tulane or wherever it may be. There could be a letdown, but the coaches had them ready to play and knew that there was a lot on the line every week. We were getting everybody's best shot.
I think
interested.
I think for me it was you go back to the Ohio State, when Ohio State came down to Cincinnati and Geno almost knocked them off down there in Cincinnati. That was a game where, if Cincinnati won, it was going to be an upset and showing that they could play with those guys. But for me, when they went to Notre Dame, it wasn't going to be an upset if Cincinnati won. Like in the back of my head, it was like, hey, they should win, they can win, and they should win, and they did. So
they were favorites.
Yeah, you look at the high profile games just in the early 2000s when Ohio State came down, and that game, Cincinnati, no one would have thought they would have had a chance, and they should have won. But this one, another high profile game, and they're supposed to win, and that's just kind of where the programs went. And it's like we said earlier, just build upon guys that are in this conversation and other guys that came in the past that have built it up to this point.
Yeah, I think for me it was just kind of like get over the hump game. All these guys in here are talking about, all these close games, these high profile games that we've almost won and that, even I've been a part of in my time. And I was holding my breath the entire game, especially towards the end when they started scoring again, they started coming back. I'm like, we just need to push over this hump. And for me, it was huge sigh of relief to, like everybody said, when that clock hit 0 and we came out victors. It was an incredible moment for me. And I knew from that point that, we'd gotten over the curse, as one would say, and, we'd pushed over that hump thanks to, all these guys here and everybody that came before and helped build it to what it's become.
Yes, but I really think that Georgia game did it all. I think the confidence that they built from that game is tremendous. I got a chance to meet some of the guys. I walked in the locker room homecoming. The confidence them guys got is unreal. You know what I mean? And as a team, Coach Fickle, they follow behind their head coach. And I got an opportunity to talk to him. He's so positive. He's so wanting to, he's not pushy. He wants you to be a part of that. And that's what's important. That's how we get where we at today, just because of that guy, the confidence he puts in them players.
I think that's a big point. Like, that is a man that is comfortable in his own skin, right?
Yes.
Like, that's a guy that that exudes through the rest of the team. How important is that to have from a coach? And Ben, Brian Kelly's the most confident man in the country. He walked out in Louisiana like he had lived there for 14 years a couple weeks ago.
have you guys seen that video of him going around with that recruit?
Oh yeah. He's from the South now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they always said. He could sell sand to a beach, which, I mean, he was a business guy and kind of got it going. I wish he would have stayed, obviously, but I mean, things are doing well now without him. So,
well, that's the serendipitous part about all this, right? Is the biggest win in program history comes against Brian Kelly and Notre Dame, and that's the win that propels Cincinnati into the college football playoff, one spot ahead of Notre Dame, and Brian Kelly ends up at LSU. Like, just the circle of life of this whole story this year has been incredible.
Yeah, I don't know what the coaching staffs were like before Coach Kelly, but I know when we were there, I mean, he had me believing, and I think everyone else, that we could compete for a national championship. And if you remember 2007, there was, Ohio State lost to Illinois, West Virginia lost to somebody. All the top teams the number one team kept losing, and so we still had chances in there. And he kept giving us different pathways of how we're going to get to the national championship game. And I think just talking about it and starting to think about playing a national championship. And I think I don't know if he was the first one who got the ball rolling, but at least in my head, it was like, hey, we can. We beat Rutgers when they were ranked really high. South Florida was high that year. UConn, West Virginia, we competed with. So I think he just started making guys believe in that. And then when he left, they kind of carried it on, and it is where it is.
Great point, Ben, putting out the other wins that we did have. But where do y'all think the Wisconsin win come in.
I mean, that's a huge one, but unfortunately, that season didn't stack up.
That season didn't stack up, but you know what I mean. It
but that was that probably kept Wisconsin from winning the national championship.
Yeah, and we could have stopped Ohio State, the game that he's talking about, from winning the national championship that year. But
Ben, you mentioned former coaches at Cincinnati. I'm curious, how many future NFL head coaches did Jason, Terry, and Ladarius play for at Cincinnati? Because there was the Harbaugh and Tomlin and Ryan and like you guys. There were some big names that came through back then.
You took that right. That's what I was coming on to say about the coaching carousel that we have. Like it's some big names. You got like Jimbo Fisher was our offensive coordinator.
Jimbo Fisher. Nick Saban was almost the head coach at Cincinnati.
Wow.
Did not know that. Wow.
Oh yeah, I had a chance to play with some great offensive line coaches when I was there. I think I had 4 and 5 years, but all of them went on to coach in the NFL and coach a long time. And one of them is still there, Coach Crook. He was a GA when I was there.
Yep. And
he's back coaching the offensive line right now.
One of my favorite humans on the planet, Ron Crook.
Oh, he's awesome.
he had a pic. His Facebook profile picture, I think, at one point was him with Snoop Dogg.
Hey, Terry,
could you imagine that interaction, Ron Crook and Snoop?
Terry, did you put up that one about Rob? What's Coach Sean's name? When he was trying to tell us what the 4-6 was, the 4-6 defense.
Coach
Did you
Ryan?
put that up?
Coach Ryan.
Yeah. Didn't he coach at UC?
Yeah,
Rob and Rex.
Yeah, he was the Coach Ryan. Rex Ryan was the defensive coordinator.
And Don Martindale was there with Coach Ryan.
Yep.
Wink.
Yep.
That's
so I mean,
Urban Meyer grinded out 4 years there too.
When you look at everything in the box, I mean, or I'll say when you take it outside of the box and you look at not just the talent that Cincinnati has been able to procure over the last 20 to 30 years, you look at the coaches. And during Fabini and I's years, and he's on offense, so I don't know Fabini. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I know for a fact on defense, my 5 years at UC, we had 5 different defenses. All 5 years, there was a new defensive coordinator every single year. And
I think that goes back to Terry. I think back then UC was kind of considered a stepping stone for some of these coaches, which I get. I mean, everybody's entitled to make a living, but I think now Coach Fickle's proved that you can stay and win and be successful at it and enjoy it and build something.
Yep. And that was where I was going to. And when you look at the whole picture and you see guys like Zach Edwards, when you see guys like Ladaris Vann, when you see the Ben Mauks, man, you see the Temples and the Campbells, and you see all of these guys that are a part of what we're witnessing today. Like, you can't help but when you look at the scoreboard, or when you look at ESPN College Game Day when they're at Cincinnati, and you're looking at all these things that happen, man, you can't help but be filled with a sense of pride. And I know for me, watching, I know I'm going backwards a little bit, but that Notre Dame game, let me tell you, I ruined the sofa because I was jumping up and down, springs were popping out. I'm quite sure there's like half a chicken still inside one of the cushions, because let me tell you, it was a celebration around here. And to Fabini's point, we play games where we weren't sure. So the coordinator's going to figure out some sort of way for us to let this one slip away. But now to Ladarius's point, now that there's coaches in place that, you know what, you can make this happen. You can get this done. We're going to make it happen. And I just love the attitude of what these guys have on the field. It's amazing.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, Terry, was there a moment for any of you guys this year as you're watching and you're like, damn, I helped get this program to this point?
All of it. I mean, every single week, because every single week it's I honestly believe that they can win the entire thing. I don't care what anybody, and I work with someone who every single morning on my desk is Roll Tide, and every single morning slap it off my desk, because I don't care what anyone says. I honestly and truly believe that what they have built, they can compete and beat anybody in the country. I don't care who it is. And to know that you had, even though it was almost 30 years ago, you had a piece of that. Man, as you can see, I'm Cincinnati out. I spent over $5,000 on everything that you can possibly imagine with the University of Cincinnati logo on it. Why? Because this is my university. Those are my guys, man. And I'm just, it has been an amazing journey of the last 2 years, I'll say.
And it's a proud moment now. It's a very, very proud moment to be a UC Bearcat. And
without a doubt, I think speaking from Terry too, I think, we were just a small part of it 30 years ago. And I think that all of you guys that are on this podcast, I've every time I get a chance, or I've had a chance, or I've been in a hotel playing in the NFL, put UC on, I put it on and would watch you guys, and it inspired me to. I was prideful in the locker room where, guys went to Michigan or Ohio State or wherever they may win. And I was hoping we'd win so I could talk crap on somebody, but without a doubt, I think that all of us, speaking to a lot of the guys that I played with, feel that, we're a small part of it. And God, it's gone so far since we've been there. And we just appreciate everything your generation has done to make us prideful. And my kids wear UC stuff. I have a son that's a freshman in Indiana. It was nothing better than us going to the game, and I made him wear a Cincinnati shirt, and we kicked the crap out of Indiana. So it was quite awesome. And I told him, hey, who butters your bread? So you're going to wear your Cincinnati shirt to the game.
I think the special thing for me is, a lot of these upperclassmen offensive linemen I worked with, and a lot of the upperclassmen D linemen I worked against, and to see them develop and surpass even the knowledge that I passed down to them, and see them grow and become big names and doing huge things for themselves is super fulfilling for me, and super, it just makes me feel great to watch these guys develop and achieve their dreams, because I know they worked so hard when I was there, when I was a senior, and they were, freshmen on the scout team trying to beat up on the older guys, things like that. It's just great for me to see them come, make their own path and become the men that they are.
Garrett, I got a question for you real quick. No, go ahead. Ladaris.
You got it. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'll get to it in a minute. We got all kinds of time.
All right. I think for me, Jason said, we played a small part in it, because I honestly don't like to take credit for what these guys have, what they put out there. Honestly, I mean, they've hard worked.
Great.
The dedication they've done. I mean, I can't put my name on that. One thing that I am proud about is some of these guys that are there, or the recent graduates, even as last year. Some of the DBs would tell me when they came in on visits, I want to come to Cincinnati because I love watching how you play safety, how you play DB. Even Javon Hicks, he was one of the guys. I mean, he's a local guy, just like me. He went to Coleraine from Middletown. Him saying that you stayed home and you played safety, you came out here and did your thing. I want to do the same thing. So I mean, that makes me happy. It really is exciting to see. And honestly, I mean, it's a feel-good thing to have somebody tell you that, and to see the position they're in now. I mean, that's a great feeling for me. But like I said, we played a small part, in my opinion. Yes, we laid the foundation. Even ones before us laid the foundation of UC football. But these guys have literally put their own stamp on this, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That their hard work and their dedication for the past 4 years. I mean, that first year was kind of tough for them, but I mean, you see the hard work they've done. I mean, Garrett can attest to that. So I mean, yeah, we played a part, but I think it was a small part.
I think one thing we all have in common is that we're all kind of underdogs. All the Cincinnati players that came before are pretty much under-recruited or overlooked. So everyone coming in had a chip on their shoulder, had to work a little harder. And that's like the foundation of our program. So seeing that all just kind of continue up, and everybody now, obviously they're getting, really good talent and great recruits, and you want to see that. But I think the foundation of all of us before is just that we were the underdog mentality. And I think that's part of their mindset this year. We got nothing to lose. We're supposed to lose to Bama. We're not supposed to be here. We're not good enough. It's a fluke year. you just hear it all the time. Everybody tells you, Terry's getting stuff with Bama stuff at work, and people are messing around, but they probably feel that we're just disrespected. And that's this team now is like changing that for all of the former players, and we can walk around and feel good about wearing the C-Paw because they're putting it on the field right now, and no one can say anything.
Well, even Ben,
Tom.
But Tom, why can't we be the 2015 Golden State Warriors?
There's nothing stopping us. Fickle stays, and he can build a monster here. We're going into the Big 12. Keep this train rolling. It doesn't matter what happens in the playoffs. We've already broke through. We know what we've got going on here. I mean, Fickle, as long as he can stay, I don't really see, I was a little nervous when Notre Dame was open up, but couldn't be happier for Freeman to get that opportunity. And, now we got our head down and we're focused on these next couple weeks. And, I mean, look out. We're focused. We're locked in, and I'm so excited. Can't wait.
I just don't think it's, what the outsiders say. I think that team is confident. They're going to go out there and play they butts off, and I think it's going to be a good game. Do we come out on top? We will see, but I don't think it's just they're going to come and just walk all over us. I think it's going to be a great game, and that's just my opinion, but I think it's going to be a great game.
I've heard a lot of people talk this week, the past couple weeks, about when this started, how this started. And I think the consensus is it started in a game you played in, Garrett. And I'm sure a game that all you guys had a visceral reaction to go into the Rose Bowl, coming off a 4-8 season where they probably should have been, you guys should have been 1-11 in 2017. Like, you escaped, narrow escapes to avoid a complete disaster of a season. Nobody knew what to expect going into 2018. I think the general consensus that year, if we all remember correctly, was, can Fickle get them to 6-6 and a bowl game? Like, can we just get back to a bowl game, and that'll be a successful season? You guys go to the Rose Bowl, you beat UCLA. Desmond Ridder becomes the beginning of Desmond Ridder. Mike Warren becomes a star. Take me through going into that game, how the mentality of this program flipped potentially on that one night in Southern California.
For me personally, I remember it being one of the best games of my career. I played like an absolute man on fire, and it's because of the man leading the ship. I mean, Fickle put that fire and drive and desire in me, and it's the same drive and fire that I knew the rest of my team had, because I could see the way that they were playing. I could see the way that we were handling our business, that they were going exactly as he described. And they, to see us go out there and take chances, take risks, there's a lot of fourth down calls where we're running off for field goal, they get a penalty, we sprint right back on to win. Having a guy that you want to play for, and a guy that you have such confidence and such heart for and desire to be successful together, it builds something contagious, and it's something that I see to this day, all these guys doing out there. They are playing, and they're putting their bodies on the line. They are putting every, drop of what they have into him, because they know that he's going to do the same for them and reciprocate it.
Did you see this from Des?
I'm sorry?
Garrett, did you see this from Des? Like, you're the guy snapping him the ball. Did you see this from him?
Oh, yeah. I think for him going into the game, or I think the game plan was for him and Hayden to kind of switch around a little bit.
Yeah,
exactly. To see, kind of go back and forth, to see who would pretty much start that season. And to see Desmond go out there in his first career start and go from deer in headlights to, the leader that he's become. There are obviously the first stages. We had a few things we had to get over, and with experience, or, with time comes experience, but it was the beginnings of everything. I could see the stars and the fire igniting, and everybody starting to kind of get the gears going. And I think one of the main things that produces success, and which we haven't had with like the coaching carousel, is a pattern and a routine and a structure. And I think that we've built that with, Fickle wanting to stay here, with the training staff downstairs, with Brady Collins, and Zach was talking about like Carey still up in academics. There's such a strong foundation that they've built around these guys that I think they can keep reproducing the same results, and it's because of that structure that they built when he got here.
As a former quarterback, what do you see when you watch Des, Ben?
I think the greatest thing for me is that he wears number 9. So when my daughters see the Cincinnati Bearcat jersey number 9 for sale, I'm like, hey, that's my jersey. They still don't understand. Like we were watching, I don't know, Game Day did a special when I was at Cincinnati with Coach Kelly, and I was in it. And so I found it the other night looking for a DVD, which I don't know who still watches DVDs anymore, but I popped it in my old PS2 and we watched it. And they were like, "That was you played in like these games?" I was like, "Yeah, I used to play in those games." But I just his game management and his professionalism, being a father and seeing how he is managing his time with being a college athlete, knowing all the time that goes behind that, and then also being a parent at the same time. I mean, that's not an easy task. And then balancing school as well. So he's doing a lot and been successful at it. And it's just I think he serves as an inspiration for a lot of people. I think he's kind of one of the unsung heroes. We talk about him a lot because he's from Cincinnati, but I think on a national stage, he deserves a lot more credit and recognition than I think what he's getting with all he's balancing and how much success he's had on and off the field.
Top 5 winningest quarterback in the history of college football.
I'll also tell you, he didn't have Coach Kelly in his ear either, and Tom can attest to that. That if he would have came in as 18-year-old with Coach Kelly, mother effing him and saying some of the things that, when I got there, I was 20, 21, 22 years old, so I could take the coaching points. But when my little brother was coming to high school, he was down to Michigan, Notre Dame, and Missouri, and I was like, "You'll love playing for Coach Kelly." But I knew that if Coach Kelly, because my dad doesn't coach that way, so if Coach Kelly would have gotten his face, a lot of people would shut down, and he kind of wants to see how you respond. But I don't know what his quarterback coach was like, and I know Tom really liked Coach Forrest at Cincinnati, but Coach Kelly was the quarterback coach, and he said a lot of things that makes me think I would never get away with saying those things to a high school kid. But he's done a lot on and off the field, and I think he deserves a lot more appreciation from outside the Cincinnati and outside the American Athletic Conference than what he's getting.
I think he's one of the best, if not the best player to ever play at UC. I mean, I'm going to say it. He's never lost a game at Nippert. I mean, the dude is, you can say what you want to say if how he's going to do in the NFL and whatnot, but the dude wins, and he's handled everything the best way you can. He's a great ambassador for our school. Like Ben said, he's a father. He's handling everything, all the adversity, and it's so easy to slip up in a college football season. And yeah, we had a couple rough games, but they weathered the storm, and he had the troops going. I mean, it's awesome to see the success he's having, and been a big fan. Obviously, just seeing him grow each year too. There's been a level of improvement every single year, so it's been fun to watch Des for sure.
Well, I think too, the things that we didn't have to battle when we were in college with social media. I know there's a lot of things that could have been captured on film. I saw Tom doing that. You probably couldn't get away with that stuff today. And these guys, not only Desmond but everyone else, handling the social media and the pressures of that and the comments and all that stuff going on, and they're still overcoming that and still being successful. Speaks a lot to their character and who they are as a person, not just as a player.
I think we need a Tom DeTemple Ben Mauk podcast.
No, you need a Tom DeTemple impersonation podcast. If you want to see Coach Kelly, he's right there. He's got every coach that's ever coached for UC. I'm sure it's down to a science, but he used to get in front of the team at events and so forth and impersonate Coach Kelly. And I think one time he did Coach Kelly or somebody and was a little scared. I think it was Coach Elston. Maybe he was worried how he would respond to that, but he always did a really good job. And he had all the Cincinnati staff and then all the Family Guy characters down to a T. I still tell my wife about those.
Tom, do you have a Brian Kelly Louisiana impersonation?
I don't know where that came from, but
my family.
At the end of the day, BK is going to be BK. Okay.
He loves himself. He was awesome to play for. We love playing for BK, but it's just I'm like, is BK going to strike again and leave Notre Dame and they're going to get our coach? So I was like, come on. I mean, I don't wish any ill will on BK, but Yeah, I mean, Ben's not lying. I used to keep the team pretty loose with cracking jokes and impersonating coaches, and that was kind of part of my role on the team, making sure we all had fun.
You mentioned Desmond Ridder as potentially the greatest player in program history. Might I counter with Ahmad Sauce Gardner, who I want from a player's perspective. When you guys, have you ever seen anything like what has happened this year on the boundary, where teams just got to, he was able to blitz multiple times late in the season because they stopped looking at him. The number one receiver was out. It was not an option. The quarterback didn't look his way. Like, I want a former player perspective on just your thought process watching what Sauce was able to do this year, which to me, I don't know that we've seen that. You don't see that in the NFL, much less, a guy in college.
For me as a DB, I like to applaud that coaching staff for finding ways to get him involved, because I know the DB, you can shut down on the field, it gets boring. Games get boring. So to see them send them on blitzes, that's just amazing. And just to be able to command, especially being an underdog, I mean, some will say it came out of nowhere with those pick sixes earlier this year. But he's always had that talent, that's clear. So in order for him to be able to just literally shut down one side of the field every single game is just that's just a blessing as a DB. Because that's hard to do with so many rules in football. That's just, especially when it's catered to the offense. That's impressive.
I think when you look at what he has been able to do, he's only a junior, right? What he has been able to do, and you have to look at some of the great secondary players that the University of Cincinnati has produced. So you have your Sam Garnes, who played 7 or 8 years with the New York Giants. You have Chris Hewitt, who played with the Saints and is still coaching with the Baltimore Ravens. You have Arturo Hawkins, who played I guess, with the Patriots and he played with the Bengals for a little while. You take Zach Edwards. There's so many great players. Jermaine Trent, Jocelyn Borgella, Latish Kinsler, like all these guys. Mike Davis, who was drafted by the Houston Oilers at that time. When you look at what those guys were able to do compared to what this young man has done, I play with some of the guys that I mentioned, and I'm not slighting them one bit, but this dude is legit the real deal. If you can lock down one side of the field against an SMU, against a Houston, against a Notre Dame, are you kidding me? And has not allowed a touchdown pass in his entire career. I'm done, because that's just insane. I don't talk about it anymore. Like, that dude is legit real deal.
I think it's tough. I think it's tough because you get into a little bit of coaching philosophies, because not to take anything away from Sauce, but you look at Mike Mickens, D'Angelo Smith, and Haruki Nakamura, who I played with. Those are 3 really good defensive backs. We played a lot of zone coverage, so they weren't shutting somebody down, but they played their role. And it'd be interesting to see them in this style of defense or with this coaching philosophy. So I think coaching philosophy has a lot to do with it, but not to take anything away from this kid. But I just think about those 3 guys and throwing against them in practice every day, and how much better they made me and how much I learned from them on the field and then off the field as well. But those are 3 pretty good players, and they didn't get the notoriety that Sauce is getting because it's just a different defense philosophy. But I think they could have done a lot.
Mickens was a second team All-American. Mickens got a lot of love, and he was outstanding. I'm curious, Ladarius, could you put a touchdown on Sauce? Not now, but back then.
You asking me that?
Yeah, you're the wide receiver in the room.
One thing about me, I was a physical receiver. You're not coming up and pressing me. Not my junior year. Not maybe my freshman year, because they exposed me my freshman year. I remember playing against UAB. They pushed us 5 yards behind our line of scrimmage. Like they exposed, because I was a quarterback coming out of college. I was supposed to be a DB, but you know, I had a lot of issues that I lost a lot of scholarships. I actually committed to UM. I actually committed to University of Miami, but I lost my scholarships. Got in trouble, but I came there and they put me at receiver because Jimbo Fisher wanted me at receiver, and that's how I became a receiver.
You give me Marcus Barnett in 2007, I'll throw a touchdown on him. I'll throw a touchdown.
Give me Gino. Give me Gino. I'm going to score on anybody.
Oh yeah.
You know, hey, do y'all know what they played against me that Ohio State game that you talking about? They played a cover 2 man on me. They said lock Van. This was the game plan. Stop Van, win game. And I still had about 100 yards on them that game when Mike Doss got on top of me and they had a zone coverage over the top.
So you put one on Sauce?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. You give me Bones. You give me Bones from 2007. I'll throw a touchdown on him.
Yeah, of course.
You and Bones had a special year in 2007.
Yeah, he was just fearless. I mean, he was a freshman at about 140 pounds, but
maybe.
Maybe. And he's a pretty incredible player. Thursday practices were a little weird because we were shorts and t-shirts, and he wouldn't wear anything under his shorts and hike his shorts up. So that was a little weird. He's different character, but he was just fearless. He'd just do crazy stuff, and he would go up and get the ball whenever he needed to. So I'd take Bones and against anybody.
Yeah, I want to give some thumbs up to Gino Gaduli, man. He's on that staff, man. That's big ups for Gino Gaduli. Gino was a special player, man. Like a lot of people, if you haven't followed or you got to think about the year that we left. He lost all his receivers. Like his senior, like his junior year that he lost
the oldest team in the country.
Yeah, like my senior year, I think it was his sophomore year or junior year. I think it was my
he
sophomore.
Graduated D'Antonio's first year, which would have been 04.
So my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Like my junior year, my senior year was his junior year. You lost Johnny O, you lost myself, you lost Ty Keith, you lost the whole receiving corps. I can say we did not really do a great job of replenishing Gino receivers. You had some DBs go play receiver. Gino last couple of years.
Senior year,
yeah. They had DBs move to receiver because they ain't have no receivers. So you know what Gino could have been, we'll never know. But he was special. I think like a lot of people don't know. A lot of my catches was makeshift. I had a go. I did a curl, and the ball when I turned around, it was right there. He just knew what I was going to do. That's how we thought outside the box. We ran our own plays.
Oh, make no mistake. He still lets Dez know every day that Dez isn't going to pass him in career passing yards. Like he'll point to the wall. Like if they're in Nippert, he'll point to the wall and be like, "I'm up there. You're not up there. That's me. It's not you."
Okay. Gino still got the record, right?
For yards, yeah. Yes. Dez passed him for touchdowns, passed him for total yards when you include rushing. But Gino's still got the record for passing yards, and he went a lot harder in the paint than Dez ever did.
Yeah, he got beat up. He got beat up behind that line of scrimmage, though. Yeah,
I'm talking about his life outside the football field.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. You're right about that.
Dez is a nice guy. Gino wasn't a nice guy back in those days.
No, not at all.
Question from Todd. What were your thoughts when it was officially announced UC was headed to the Big 12 out of our almost decade-long march into purgatory, and that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that this was going to be Power 5 level, BCS level, whatever football again?
Recruiting. That's what my thought was. Recruiting. We can get some of them guys from Ohio. We can get the bigger O linemen, and we can get these guys because they know we're going to the Power 5. You know what I mean? The faster guys. As Coach was talking about in his interview today, you know what I mean? We need to recruit a little bit faster, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. So I think we'll get them things with being in the Big 12.
For me, mine was more about the exposure and then finally getting that respect to when we go out here and win these games. I mean, think about I know we put up points, but I mean, we're, in my opinion, a defensive-led team. Everybody knows in the Big 12, it's not too much defense being played. So I think that plays in our favor, in my opinion. So, I mean, I was excited to see them go or get the opportunity. I think I want to say junior year, they had talks about it, realigning conferences. I'm pretty sure they brought up the Big 12, and we were excited for that then. So to see them rolling the way that they're rolling now, and then to be able to get put in that position, and now they're going to get that exposure, more exposure than what they're getting now. I mean, because a lot of people say we're only getting it because we had 2 back-to-back years. I don't believe that. I know a lot of you don't believe that. I mean, we've seen what UC has done, but now you won't be able to deny it, in my opinion. Being in
to
the
kind of
Big 12.
piggyback, exactly what Zach's saying. I think it allows us to control our own destiny as opposed to waiting and seeing how the cards fell. Like this year, people had to drop out of the top for us to get in, things like that nature. I think in this respect, we can, control what we do, and as long as we win out, we're going to have a shot every year, as opposed to waiting what happens.
I totally agree. I think it gives us a path to the championship. So I think if you look at if Oklahoma State wins against Baylor, what happens then? Do we get screwed?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Well, for me, I live in Missouri, so it's Big 12 country out here. So I'm excited because I'll be able to go to a lot more games that are closer by, and I think it grows the brand of Cincinnati as well. I mean, you're in the college football playoffs, so that's a lot of notoriety right there. But now, your Oklahoma States, Kansas States, Iowa States, all these schools out here are going to have to, understand and respect Cincinnati as well. So I think the number of fans will continue to grow, and just growing the brand. Every once in a while there's one store out here that for some reason always gets Cincinnati gear. So I always get in there and I got all this Cincinnati stuff from that store, but I think a lot more stores will have it in stock and so forth out this way. So I'm excited.
I love confusing it for Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I know. None of my kids in my class anymore think it's Chick-fil-A. They don't already because of how well they've done the last couple of years. But, kids are always asking, hey, I need a Cincinnati shirt. I'm like, well, you got to go online because the Rally House and other places don't have it. But I'm sure they'll start carrying it now because everyone loves the Big 12 out here.
Yeah, I think it just gives us an opportunity to, obviously the money is a big thing as well to keep coaches. It's more attractive, better opponents. It sounds like Texas and Oklahoma will be sticking around for a couple of years. So we maybe have the opportunity to see Texas or Oklahoma show up in Nippert. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the program keep building on what's going on right now, and having that opportunity in the Big 12 is going to be huge for us.
And I will add the cherry on top of this entire discussion about the Big 12. Everyone hit on exactly what it brings to the university: notoriety, brand recognition, money, recruits, all the above. Jason, if you remember, we played in what was called the Conference USA.
I do, Terry.
So
I think it's still around, but
when you play in Conference USA, when you go from Conference USA days to Big 12 days,
oh, without a doubt.
Hello, bring it. Let's get out. Like that was my immediate. Finally, let's go get them. Every last one of them on the schedule. Let's take it to them. Let's show them how we play football here in Southern Ohio.
Well, yeah, I think it was a long time coming. I think that, that was always hopefully the plan for Cincinnati, was trying to get into a conference. And I think, a few years ago, maybe the ACC, when they took Louisville maybe over us. But I think, I think we've proved it on the field that we belong. And I think after a while with the shakeup, they couldn't deny us. They had to take us.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Any last thoughts on any of this, Garrett?
Me? No, I'd love, moments like this, getting together, seeing all these guys, being able to have open discussion like this, and just having this opportunity and talking up the Bearcats. It's exciting for me.
I just meant on the Big 12. I wasn't trying to like wrap up. I just meant on the
Don't
Big
get all
12.
sentimental, Garrett.
Well, my piece was just, being able to control our own destiny. And that's something that Fickle kind of highlighted and talked about when we were there. It's just control your own destiny, do what you can do. Don't worry about anything else happening outside. That gives us this jump gives us that opportunity.
So kind of along that same line, you got right now, you have Dez, you have Sauce, you have Maje. I saw one guy even had one NFL draft analyst had Alec Pierce as a first rounder. So you got 4 guys being mentioned. You could probably throw Kobe in there potentially.
Yeah.
But you got all these guys being mentioned as first rounders in the NFL, not just worrying about, are we going to have anybody drafted, but you got first rounders playing for Cincinnati Bearcats. Did you ever think that this team was going to, after the time that you put in, get to a point where you're talking not just guys being drafted? Because I think right now you have somewhere between 8 and 10 people who are being mentioned in the draft, which if you go back to Alabama last year, I think they only had 8 or 10 total players drafted last year in the NFL. So we're at that height. But did you ever think that you were going to see something like that for Cincinnati?
Not this quickly, not at all. I'm so excited for these guys. Like I said, I watched a lot of these guys grow up. Remember the first days of snapping the ball to Dez, to watching him come on campus, to pass setting against Maje when he was on scout team. Like little things like this. It's just incredible for me because in my mind, those will always be those guys, because by the time I left, they're always so young and, underdeveloped and everything. And to hear them mentioned as first rounders is so incredible to me. And it's a testament to, what Fickle's done and being part of a winning program like that, and the kind of scouts it can bring and the kind of attention it can bring. Cause I played with a lot of guys who had a lot of the similar talent, but just weren't on great team, as productive teams and didn't get that opportunity. So, I think and then, like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from, those guys and what they're doing, but I think, overall this helps everybody, and it helps them be better. It helps them to push themselves even harder and to continue to strive. And it's a great thing for, those, younger guys like the freshmen coming in, the number 2s, the number 3s, to see the talent that it takes to get to that first round and hopefully surpass that, having a milestone, a goal that they want to beat. And I think that's important.
I think you're right. Someone to look up to, work ethic and all that, to see what it takes to actually get there. Without a doubt.
Anybody else about any of that?
I would say everybody gonna know what a Bearcat is now.
That's right.
So you got, what is the Bearcat? Who's the University of Cincinnati? You know how that goes, but everybody about to know about the Bearcats now, so that's a good thing.
I think from a not just a draftable, because I believe my class in '96, so we had, I believe, 8 guys so we had 2 get drafted. Robert Tate, who was a receiver, and Sam Garnes, he got drafted. Everyone else was a free agent. Darius Felder, myself, Rob Robinson, Jermaine Trent, Anthony Ladd, who's also another receiver. We had numbers, but again, we weren't on great teams. So the emphasis wasn't necessarily on us. I believe Robert Tate was and I don't remember, either a 5th or a 6th round pick, as well as Sam was. But to hear, 5 or 6 guys in the first round, that's
impressive.
Exactly. That's a true testament to what the coaching staff has done, not just what they've done in developing players, but what they've done to recruit these types of players. So that bodes well into the future, and it speaks volumes of, you don't have to go to a SEC school, to make it to the NFL. And that's what it says to local guys. You can stay home, play your what's off, and still, be able to fulfill your dream. So it's an incredible feat.
Well, I agree. Terry, actually, my year, we had 5 guys drafted, believe it or not.
That's right.
That was a long time ago, but.
So today was National Signing Day, and I don't know how much you guys have kept up with the recruiting process, but for those of you who have, is there anybody that you're really excited to see put on that CPAW?
Cecil Doggett Jr. He's a defensive tackle, and I played with his father in the Arena Football League, Cecil Doggett Sr., and his father was an absolute animal, being an undersized defensive back. So I can only imagine the anger that this dude is going to show up to campus with and fit right into what we do. So I'm looking forward to him out of everyone else.
Anybody else?
One thing I'll say is, I don't keep up too much with recruits. I don't keep up too much with like freshman
We're gonna have to get you guys on BearcatJournal.com. Jeez.
Sign us up.
Yeah, I have a hard time, placing a lot of, interest and faith in a lot of people have yet to prove a lot. I don't know. That might be like the old head in me. Somebody.
It's the walk on in you.
Yeah, exactly. It's the walk on in me. I started my career as a walk on, ended up great. And it's about grinding. And these kids haven't really tasted what it means to be a college football player at this level yet. And as we all know, we come in classes of 20, 25 people. And, I ended up graduating with like 7 or 8 of those guys. People fall off. And the sad part is a lot of these, a couple of these guys won't be here by the end of their career. Hopefully they all are. But the sad reality is a lot of them, are not a lot, but a few of them might not be. And so
look, not everybody has 14 years to spend in college.
I think the big thing for me is I'll wait till these guys get on the field, show what they have, and show the dedication and the what they've put into it.
Garrett, we've got a freshman or an incoming freshman offensive lineman. He's a wrestler, a high level wrestler. He wants to take on Fick.
Oh, I saw the little clip today.
That's a kid with irrational confidence because Fick would tie him in a pretzel.
Who do you say were the two he's got to get through before he gets to him?
Nobody in particular. Just that if you're coming in, you don't get me right away. You got to go through whatever I put in front of you. For the guys that didn't see it. So the kid's a high level wrestler. He really thinks he can take Fick.
Ethan Green.
I asked Fick about it, and Fick's like, if he wins state, then he gets a chance to work his way up to the crown. But if he doesn't win state, he's not on my level, and I'm not talking about it.
Man, this kid's an offensive lineman, right? He's like probably upper 200s, right? He's a big guy.
Oh no, he's like 6'7", 310. Like he's a huge.
So he's a heavyweight. All he's doing is like hip checking, fucking awesome.
220-pound guys.
So I wrestled for many years. Fickle's just gonna run around him. Good luck to him, though. You know what? Good luck.
But you have to love that confidence level.
Yeah, heck yes.
I think for recruits, I think all the local guys are who I'm excited about. I don't know what the recruiting process. I don't know what the.
It was a little bit of a down year in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, that's what those guys that stayed and are going to play for Cincinnati. But I think I don't know what the recruiting process was like before Coach Kelly. But being in the coaching rooms and kind of listening to him behind the scenes, he wanted a 100-mile radius around Cincinnati. He thought he could win with the guys in that 100-mile radius in Northern Kentucky and Indiana and into Ohio. And really want to focus on those guys and then go out and get, a high-profile player and bring them in. But he really changed the recruiting landscape, I think, because a lot of people are trying to stay away from downtown because they thought that was kind of a black mark on coming to Cincinnati because people were fearful of it, their families or whatnot. But he kind of opened it up. And, we had to take the highway to get down there. I heard Over the Rhine's a little bit different than from when I was there now, but we took we took the highway to take the recruits down there, and he showed off Fountain Square and then took them ice skating, took them to Buena Braza. They stayed down there at the Westin or whatever that hotel is downtown, but kind of showcased downtown. He got, just showing it. It's a professional sports city. I mean, you got the Bengals, you got the Reds, and now you're going to be playing for, in a city where you're going to get some notoriety and we're going to win games and be competing for national championships. And I don't know what it's like now, but just seeing the local guys and remembering how he really wanted to focus on the guys from Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and into Indiana. And just we could win with those guys. We didn't need to go outside of that radius.
Well, you guys would all be irrationally mad if you saw the living quarters for players now.
Oh, I've heard.
Irrationally mad. Zach?
Yeah, I'm upset about that.
Garrett, you got a little bit of it, right?
I was the last generation of the Schneider days, the actual dorm days.
Me and Terry lived in Dabney Hall.
Dabney Hall.
Me and Terry lived in Dabney Hall. That was the worst.
The absolute worst.
I came in as a grad transfer, so I never actually set foot in a classroom in Cincinnati. I took all online classes and stayed down. I stayed downtown. There's a guy from my hometown that had a really nice apartment, actually close to where Nick Lachey was. So I had a pretty good living quarters or living arrangement.
You're rubbing it in or what?
Yeah, no, I had a pretty nice setup when I was there.
If you saw me in Terry's room, you guys wouldn't have came to Cincinnati.
we stayed in Dabney for a couple nights. Tony Pipe.
That's all you could take, right?
Yeah, and then we went to higher ground, and then from there I got back in my apartment and showed up when I had to, and went home and did my stuff online. So
let me ask you a question: did Dabney Hall have air conditioning while you were there?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, because it didn't.
I don't think it had heat either.
Right, dude. It was the absolute. It was there's. I don't know personally, but I believe there's prison, Dabney Hall.
One of my favorite things that Fickle has said when he's got introduced as the coach was that if they're keeping score, then we want to win. And I think that stuck with me, that he's really gonna kill it on the recruiting front. And I think this year they got like you said, there's not too many Cincy guys, but I think they've done well in like the Columbus area and Dayton area. So
this was a heavy Columbus and Dayton year for sure. That's where the talent was. That's what I love about him, is he doesn't like fixate on it has to be Cincinnati, because if it's not there in Cincinnati that year, then okay, we'll go to Columbus and we'll get Derek there, CJ Doggett and Tyler Gillison, and we'll go get Derek Shepard, a 4-star from Alter, and with Kobe Bryant and Derek Forrest, we'll go into Columbus and Northern Ohio and like
Stephen Bird and Jonathan Thompson.
Yeah. Other Columbus guys, like he'll dip back into, DeSales, his former high school. Like he just has it seems like the guy just has a great pulse on what's happening in that. He talks about a 300-mile radius, Ben, Luke does. I think in large part that's because they're now, because of Sauce, they're a factor in Michigan. And because of Denbrock and Gino, they've been able to be a factor in Chicago. I mean, you think about Jeremy Cooper and Alec Pierce and Ben Bryant when he was here. And they've been able to go into Chicago and get some kids that, like, if I'm the head coach at Northwestern or like Illinois, I'm firing people for missing on some of the guys that Cincinnati has brought in from Chicago. So he talks about a 300-mile radius, but what made him a perfect fit was he knows every coach in Ohio. He knows every situation. I'm sure he knew your dad, right, Ben?
Yeah, so they have that Football Coaches Association clinic, in Columbus, and my dad actually started that. But every school in Ohio, their coaches are there. So, when Kelly was there, and I'm sure Fickle as well, they bring their whole staff, even if they weren't speaking at the clinic, just to shake hands and meet all those coaches. So.
But back to your point, Tom, he gets it in terms of knowing the lay of the land, knowing what works, what doesn't work, what's hot this year, what's hot, and he's able to capitalize on that. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah, I think the defense too. You look at the up front; they got Shepard and they got I think it's Mario Eugenio,
Mario Eugenio, yeah.
Yeah, and then these DBs that are coming in, it's like that's just how you build a strong defense. You start getting these top tier guys, and you start putting them in those spots. And I think Zach can appreciate we're getting these big DBs. It's like 6'2" is like you got to be at least 6'1" almost to
right.
be on Fickle's defense. So it's just fun to see these guys coming in. And I think another thing is the development too. Like Garrett touched on it a little bit with the players that he's played with, and none of those guys were really high, recruited guys. I mean, they did have good offers, but they weren't 4 or 5-star blue chip guys. Alec Pierce is just a guy that's come in and worked his tail off and been productive as hell. So seeing the production in each one of those position groups has been so fun, and seeing the guys coming in that can learn from, what they've got on the team now is just going to keep building and getting better and better.
I don't know if you guys know this. I want to throw this out at you real quick to get your reaction. Alec Pierce got a mechanical engineering degree at UC in 3.5 years. That's right.
Not
Zach.
easy.
3.5. Like everybody says, you can't major in engineering at Cincinnati and play football. And Pierce not only did it, but he didn't do it in 5 years. He did it in 3.5. Garrett, you played with him. The dude is, well, he's a nerd completely. Yeah. So are you, so you can relate.
I was
but like
a handful of us.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's incredible, and I just know the class load it takes and the dedication, the time management, and I was also told no, and I told them I'm doing it anyway. So I'm sure he had
pre-med for Garrett, right?
So yep, and so I'm sure he had a lot of conflicts and a lot of things, and a lot of professors and a lot of extra credit he had to do to make up for the time he missed and the practices that took him away from what he had. And, it just goes to show his character, and it's exemplified on the field, with the way that he holds himself and the way that he plays and the way that he's disciplined and how he runs his routes. It all translates. It's the work that he puts into the classroom is, the same he puts on the football field, and it's going to carry with him in life.
Shout out to Alex Apien for the Alec Pierce connection as well. He was a aerospace engineer, and I think Fickle or one of the coaching staff members, Alex was kind enough to hop on a Zoom call with him and talk him through that program, and maybe was a factor in getting Alec on campus. So pretty cool story, former players helping out where we can as well.
You have to also give a lot of credit to Dr. Joe Lucky and his staff, his academic services staff there at the athletic department. And I made a comment in our CFLC group on Facebook about how things have gotten so much better for them. Like they take a vested interest in making sure that when you leave the university, you don't just leave and, hey, see you later. By the way, check your inbox because we're going to send you these alumni. We need you to fund the program. Like they don't just do that. Like they ensure that if you don't graduate when you leave, you're at least on the right track and you are almost there. And they follow up with you to make sure that you stay on course even after your playing days are done. And to me, that is an amazing job that they have done over at the university. I'm sure it's not in a vacuum, right? I believe it's been, this way for the last 10 or so years. Like they make sure that you do what you need to do because you don't just come here just to play football. You come here to play a great game that you love, you grew up playing, but you most importantly come here to graduate and to become a productive citizen. So
Terry, I was told today, since this staff has come in, they have a 100% graduation rate with their seniors.
That's awesome.
And we touched on this a little bit, but the academic All-American thing, like there hasn't been a first-team academic All-American at Cincinnati since 1997.
John Kabalka?
John Kabalka, that's right.
And they didn't only have one, they had two in Des Ritter and Alec Pierce, and they had two second-team All-Americans in Lorenz Metz and Brian Cook.
Wow.
For you guys, that has to mean the world to see where this is at now in terms of taking these young men and developing them for more than this isn't a football factory. Right. This is a young men factory.
Yeah.
Well, I think you get that when you have somebody that wants to stay and build a program. Like with Coach Kelly. With Coach Kelly, I mean, he did a lot of good, but it was more business. We were athletes there first, and that's why you're on campus. We
you didn't come here to play school. It was once famously said somewhere else.
Exactly. But when you have somebody who's trying to establish tradition, wants to be there, and cares about kids, and not only in football, and I'm not saying Coach Kelly didn't, but I mean, you see that with somebody who wants to be there for longevity.
You can see that with like I mentioned earlier, with the academic staff. It's the fact that they actually care. I reached out to Miss Carey probably a month and a half ago to go back to school and try to figure out what avenues I could take, and she hit me back just like that. No hesitation, no question asked. Gave me all the information I needed and was willing to help me through every process. So, I mean, that's a huge testament to that staff, the academic staff. I know they were hard on me when I was there. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of the players could say that, but they kept me on straight and narrow, and they always had my back, and they always wanted what was best for me. So, I mean, to see them doing the things and making the strides that they're making now and getting the national recognition that it deserves, that's great for them, and a huge testament to the hard work and dedication they put in.
Let's relax a little bit here. We're getting close to. I don't want to keep you guys a whole lot longer. When we talked about Nippert and it being empty, did any of you three guys over here on the right play in the Memphis game in the snow?
Yeah.
There was what, 30 people there? Like, to go from there, to go from there to here, like, isn't that just like as stark a contrast as you can find?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. I think my stories, I tell people, you know, I grew up in Indiana, so my buddies all went to like Ball State in Indiana, and they'd come over to watch games, watch me play just because they served beer in the stadium. Right. And
back then nobody did. Cincinnati was the only one.
Yeah, Cincinnati was the only one. There'd be like 5,000 people in the stadium, and I was at homecoming this year just to see it, the electric of it, and my son went to the Houston game and he was telling me about it, and it's just unbelievable. It really is. It's hard. It's kind of hard to fathom. Just thinking back 27 years ago or 20-some years ago, Terry, when we were there. But you know what? It's deserving. I think we talked about earlier, I think Zach did. We are a little part, but the guys that are here now put in the work, and they understand that they're at a place where you can win and you have a chance to compete at the highest level. You got to give those guys credit for coming here and putting the work in.
If you build it, they will come.
Maybe.
Terry, what was your memory of that Memphis game? You're on mute. Real quick, you're on mute. Terry, you're on mute. That's our first look for a 9-person podcast to only have one mute fail. Epic. Unbelievable performance, gentlemen.
So I remember us coming out pregame warm-up. We were wearing our turf shoes because it was, of course, on turf. And we were slipping and sliding all over the place. And Coach says, once we get to the locker room, he says, put on your cleats. I don't know if you remember that, Jason. Put on your cleats. And so we go out and
we had the old Reebok pumps back then. Remember that, Terry? You'd pump them up.
I don't want to remember, but
you got to pump it up, don't you?
Yes, pump it up. You got to
pump it up.
The original pump it ups.
Those were like, honestly, those were like 5 pounds of concrete on each foot.
They were equivalent to wearing Timberlands. Seriously, like they. Anyway, so I remember seeing the Memphis guys come out of the locker room, and I remember number 7 because he had to be at least 6'20", and he comes out with no shirt underneath, no sleeves, no nothing, and you got some of our guys bundled up wearing 3 or 4 coats, and this dude is from Tennessee now. You know, like I said, so you saw other guys coming out ripping their sleeves off and whatever, so they were ready to play some football. And luckily for us, you know, obviously our guys came to play as well. But I remember the winning field goal by Tom Dallin. They cleared a space off of I don't know if it was referees, but whatever it was against the NCAA rules at the time, clearing out
the old Patriot game.
Exactly. Clearing out the space for the kicker. So we got penalized. Moved us back 5 yards. He kicks the field goal, and so we thought we were going bowling for the first time in 46 years. So to see it from the days of when you were just a casual fan to drive up the day of, actually during the game, you could have drove up to Nippert Stadium, parked your car at the top of the stadium, and just walked and got a seat wherever you wanted, to the days now where you're on a waiting list for tickets. And to see them win a conference championship and a sea of, black and red just storm the field, man. It is, I'm among men here, but I got emotional. Just watching it on television. Like, man, this is incredible. This is incredible. So it is a fun time, I believe, to be part of the program, and to Zach's point, to everyone's point, that they've made recurringly. These guys have put in the work. These guys have, look, our part is probably about that big. Their part, they're undefeated, or Desmond Ritter's class is undefeated at home. Are you kidding me? It has turned into, a uniquely dangerous place for anyone wearing a competitor's jersey. And that's the greatest part about this entire thing.
So last question, and I'd like all of you to answer one by one. We can go however you want. From seeing that field stormed, the clock hit 0, the field stormed. We kind of knew at that point with the Oklahoma State loss that Cincinnati was in, to tuning in on Sunday and seeing Cincinnati in the playoff. I wouldn't have it any other way than it being Bama. Like if you're going to be David, you got to fight Goliath.
Yeah.
Like let's go. But what was that emotional roller coaster like over those 15, 16 hours from we did it, we went undefeated, we won the championship, and then seeing the CPAW come up on the screen to know that they were in? Like, take me through that ride.
Well, I think for me, I didn't really believe it until I saw it. And I think we were all anxious. And then, I have kids that are, in their 20s and in their teens, and they couldn't believe it either. They were like, Dad, did you really actually play at Cincinnati, But no, I think it was awesome. I just couldn't really didn't believe it. Like Terry said, it was, I was like, God, just thinking of all the hard work that I put in there and how the program was just kind of blown in the wind maybe there. And to think about how far it's come, it was very prideful, because I remember I was actually in Las Vegas that weekend. I had my Bearcat gear out that Sunday. It was 9:00 Vegas time. I wore my Bearcat gear all day, and I had people high-fiving me in the casino and the hotel. And, hey, Bearcats, go kick some ass, kick Alabama's ass. Or I don't know if I can say that on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. But, yeah,
it's the internet.
Okay. It was prideful. I was like, you know what? This is awesome.
Terry?
The same thing. When you look at being part of a building block, and when you look at the screen, when I look at the screen, when I see a Zach Edwards, when I see a Ladarius Vann, when I see Tom DeTemples, Ben Mauk's, Garrett Campbell's, names that I have watched and cheered for, knowing that they didn't just show up to the program and say, you know what, I'm just here, it's just UC. Like, they took it seriously, and you can tell, you can listen to what they've all said this evening to know that, you know what, the work that Jason and I were able to put in, it didn't stop with us. It didn't stop in the year, 2000. It kept going. And not only that, you see it in these guys today. So to see that CPAW, I was speaking to a former teammate from UC, receiver by the name of Chris Willis, and he called me up and he was, I told you. So, when you have guys that are just on pins and needles, man, it fulfills every wildest imagination. So we went through the Dabney Halls and the Snow Bowl games against Memphis, and when we went to Madison and just got beat up by Wisconsin, and it puts everything that we were able to do in perspective to where they are now. And to be part of a program that, it's not Alabama. We don't go out and recruit 5-star recruits and our only pitch is you come here to go to the pros. That's not what it's about when you come here. When you come here with a chip on your shoulder, like was mentioned. You got guys that I'm sure every guy on the screen could have gone somewhere. I verbally committed to Michigan out of high school. So don't ask me. That's another podcast all by itself why I wound up here, but I'm glad I did, because I couldn't ask for a better moment, a better year, a better situation to be part of than to say, you know what, I played there and here we are.
Ladarius?
It's an unbelievable feeling. I'm gonna just say this. I ain't think we was gonna go. I thought they were gonna find every reason not to invite us. Every reason not to invite us. So I didn't watch because I didn't want to get that, you know what I mean? But I started getting, messages on Facebook. Congratulations, y'all in the big game. I'm like, what? So I went and checked it, you know what I mean? So I started coordinating. I'm like, who's going to the game? Because I know I'm going. I know I'm going. Who's going to the game? Where y'all staying at? You know what I mean? So I booked everything that Monday. I booked everything Monday. And so we found out Sunday. Once somebody sent me the ticket, the UC ticket thing, I brought my tickets and I'm excited, ready to go. I just think, you know what I mean, the foundation. I remember my first year, we went 2-9. We went 2-9, and I'm like, why am I here? You know what I mean? And then it gradually got better. You know what I mean? You built a brotherhood. Even though we were losing, it built a foundation in my life. You know what I mean? Brotherhood. And I am where I am today because of UC, how they built me, the brothers that I have, the people that I still communicate with. So, it built a foundation and a responsibility to do what is needed to do when it is needed to be done. So I just think, and especially thank you guys for inviting me. And you know what I mean? I remember watching Fabini. I remember watching him on TV, and I said, UC. I'm like, I went to that school. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's a beacon of hope. You know what I mean? Like somebody's in Kelsey. My son is 7 years old. See, he just turned 7. Travis Kelce, he's a Travis Kelce lover. Like Travis Kelce. I'm talking about every team that like Madden. He trading for Travis Kelce on any team that he's on.
Can I give you a great?
Yeah.
Can I give you a great story real quick?
Go ahead.
My daughter's name is Kelsey.
Yes. Wow.
I named her after Jason.
Wow. His brother. Okay.
But when I showed her pictures of them as she got older, she's like, I'm named after Travis. I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, you were born in 2010. Travis wasn't any good yet. She's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm named after Travis. So my daughter knows where your son is at.
Yes. So about 3 years ago, he got to meet Kelsey, but he was a little 4 years old when Travis came to the homecoming game.
Yeah.
I actually was there, and my son was able to, take some pictures with him and everything. He's excited, you know what I mean? So I just think where we're at is very, very, very a unique situation. I'm happy to be a part of this organization. And just a question, who else is going to the game? I know Jason said he's going, Terry going. I know Aaron,
hey,
Chad.
you're in Missouri. You can't come down?
Yeah.
I would. 3 years ago, I was single with a dog, and now I have 5 kids in my house and a cat. So I can't just pick up and go. And if I could afford to buy 7 tickets and pay for the hotel rooms and everything, I'd be there. But I'm gonna go via satellite, so I'll be there.
I don't know if you know, Ben, but I've got some philanthropic. Like I can raise money real quick. We can start the Ben Mauk Fund.
Hey, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. Car payments too, if you could do that too.
We'll go to Ben. What did it mean to you?
Well, I think for me there was a meeting that we had with Coach Kelly. He brought in some alumni, and they were talking about their experiences at Cincinnati. And there was a former quarterback. I don't remember his name. Shorter guy with dark hair, and he said, the biggest thing you do when you leave is you're not a player anymore, and it's going to hurt. You're not playing, but you got to become a fan, and it's hard to become a fan. And I didn't really know what he was saying in the first couple of years. I was like, man, I just want to be out there. And I'm glad that Garrett is now the guy that's been there for 14 years, and that's kind of my joke's over. I'm not the Brett Favre of college football anymore, but I just wanted to be out there and thought I could still play so bad. But then, over time, just becoming a fan and just appreciating, what Cincinnati has done, and knowing that when I was there and I was only played for a year, but I would have done anything. I mean, I got shot up with Toradol before games. I got shot up with cortisone before games just so I could
get a robot arm.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Kelly didn't let me throw in practice a lot of weeks. I just handed the ball off. So, and then on Saturday I'd take my shot and I would go play. And a lot of guys wouldn't do that, but I would just do anything to to try to win games and on that Nippert field. And kind of a funny story, there's a high school just right down the road here in Missouri. I take my kids to see every once in a while. And so Nippert Stadium, the field turf, they sold it to Reed Springs High School here in Missouri. So it's the same turf. So I'm like, hey, right down there on that spot of the field, that's where I scored a touchdown. And just those memories, and then seeing Cincinnati be successful and people asking a lot of questions here. So when I saw there in the Final Four, just like a culmination of everything that came before. And there's a coach I had in high school named Mike Clark that played there, I think in the 70s. And, hearing stories about Fabini and seeing pictures of him, like, who is this guy? I didn't know if he was white or black or what position he played. And so I got to learn about him, and now being on a podcast with him, and just everything just come kind of full circle. And I think if we can go down there and, win this game and then win a national championship, I think, it's a great achievement, and, everyone's a part of it, whether you played there before or they're small part or big part. And it's just something, we all have a part in that, and it's something special. So when that CPAW popped up in the Final Four, it meant something to me. It's very significant to me of just that 1 year or 2 years that I was there and being around those people and watching them over the years being successful. So it meant a lot to me, and I'm sure it does everybody else, but that's just what I say.
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, seeing, as a player, I got to experience going to the Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowl, and, seeing Nippert being stormed as a player, and then seeing it as a fan, it brought memories back for me. And I was like, honestly, I just felt so good for the current players, because I remember what that meant to me and what that felt like. And I was just like reliving it through them and like seeing how excited they were. But, getting back to like the Nippert having, not at capacity, and we went through that. And part of my outlook is, I kind of complained about the big games we played in and Nippert wasn't packed. So as a fan, I always feel like I got to show up and support them and make them feel like, Nippert is as loud as it can possibly be. So seeing Cincy pop up in the Final Four, and we got an opportunity to play for a national championship is one of the best feelings, you could have as a former player. Obviously, this is surreal. I mean, I honestly don't even know if it's set in yet. I just got the announcement today that I got tickets, and I'm like floating around. I feel amazing. Like, it's just like I'm going to Dallas. It's all sinking in. I'm talking to you guys. I feel great. Chad, thanks for inviting us on. This has been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to meet up with more people down in Dallas and celebrate Cincy's success this year.
Zach? And thank you, Tom.
For me,
by the way. Thank you.
if you know me, there's nothing bad I can say about UC. I mean, I'm UC through and through. But to see that CPAW pop up on that screen, I had to like double check it like every 10 minutes just to make sure I wasn't like seeing something or being pranked about it, like from one of my friends. I got multiple texts from friends. I'm like, y'all are in. I'm like, all right, now let me go check. Okay, let me go check again, make sure it's still set in stone.
They didn't change their mind.
I mean, yeah, right. Like, please don't change your mind. We're good, right? But yeah, I mean, it's exciting for the program. I mean, like I said, I'm Cincinnati through and through. So that CPAW being put on that big screen, to be able to compete and to show the world what we produce and the hard work that they put in. I've been so ecstatic and like on cloud nine ever since that announcement. Honestly, I've been at work talking about UC and kids about, oh, UC's not gonna win. Yeah, whatever. Stop talking. I deal with middle schoolers, so they're they're a handful. Like, oh yeah, coach, they're not gonna win. They don't have a chance. Stop talking to me. Stop talking. Like I don't take any UC slander from anyone. I mean, it's all love with the kids, obviously, but yeah, just to see them to be able to want to compete with me about who's going to be winning and who's better, and then to have those kids that are actually rooting for UC because they know I went there. I mean, that's great too for the program, just to be able to have that impact, being able to wear the CPAW.
Garrett, since you played with all these guys, we saved you for last.
Yeah, I know, right? I got to pass the torch on to DeBlanco here. He's on to year 6, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on year 6. Do we?
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel like we have a
oh my
7.
goodness.
Like, doesn't it feel like there should be a 7 at this point in
It's
time?
crazy. Absolutely crazy. But one thing that Ben said that kind of resonated with me is, he talked about how, he wouldn't practice all week and then he got shot up with Toradol and then ended up playing.
That was you.
it just reminded me of my senior year, and it just, it resonates that every single guy in here and every guy who's played for the program would give their all and give everything to the program just to be out there with their brothers, to do it again. That was my whole goal in those 5 weeks, is just whatever I can do. I remember being on the sideline in tears, begging Crook to let me go in at the USF field. Yeah. And it's just incredible to see where they've come. And being at the game, I was lucky enough to be at that championship game and watch the field get rushed. I watched from the stands, but being part of something like that before, when we won against Miami, against the U, and we had the field rush then, I was part of something like that. And this was even a more momentous occasion. And I knew that it wasn't only a win for those guys out there and the coaching staff, but a win for the whole city. I could feel the energy in that place, and I could feel it was surreal for me to see that happen, and was a moment of awe and shock. And, I didn't even wait till Monday to buy my tickets. I bought my tickets on Sunday at 10 before they even announced this at noon. I already had them lined up ready to go, because I didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. And I'm just so thankful and grateful for, everybody that came before me and dug the path for me and everything I was able to do. And I think the thing that's most important is I think the university gave back to me a lot more than I could ever give to it. And I'm just forever thankful to that, and the guys here and everybody who supported us along the way.
Before anybody says something, I just want to give a big shout out to, that they talking about their shots and everything, Bill Walker and Bob Goings. And a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to Bob Goings. Do everybody know who Bob Goings is?
Oh yeah, former athletic director.
Yes,
may he rest in peace.
Yes, may he rest in peace, and Bill Walker too. There was the things that we got going on. There was a big part of it. So I just want to give a good, shout out, rest in peace to both of them to help build this program.
You got to throw Mick Marotti in there as well.
Yes. You're right.
Who was that, Terry?
Mick Marotti.
And I think without a doubt, John Whitaker, who's been there for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no higher ground without John.
What about Wig?
I could go without higher ground. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You guys loved higher ground.
Yeah, that food though, you can't go without that food.
Oh no,
that's true.
Bring the food to campus. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Hey, y'all talking about shots and everything.
Well, guys, it was all a pleasure. I appreciate it. Great to meet all you guys. Some of you I've seen you from afar. And I look forward. I'm going to be down in Dallas, so look forward to seeing all you guys at the game.
Yeah.
We've done 300 plus podcasts on this particular podcast channel. This was absolutely one of the best we've ever done. It was amazing to get all you guys together, to hear the different stories, to see so many guys from so many different points in time in this story was exactly what we wanted. I guess I got to give Alex credit, Tom, for helping us put this together.
Yep.
Reluctantly.
Hey, Alex, the AP family took the entire football team to Buena Braza back in the day. So I love the AP family. They're good people.
So I love Alex too, but Alex has been a member at Bearcat Journal for a long time. So we have a fun back and forth with each other. So if I don't get a few shots in on him, he would wonder what's wrong. Like, we're going back and forth on Twitter, setting this thing up. He's like, here's all the people you need to CC in the emails, and you got to do this. Yeah. I'm like, Alex, relax, man. We're just going to do a podcast and have some fun. Calm down, buddy. It's not aerospace engineering. We're going to be all right.
Any word on tailgating?
I haven't heard anything specific yet. There's a bunch of stuff on Bearcat Journal. But I haven't heard anything. Like, apparently it's a massive spot outside.
I get in on Wednesday, so I'm actually coming Wednesday. So yeah.
If I hear anything, I'll get with Alex and we'll pass it along to everybody. We usually do Republic of Cincinnati. I don't know if you are familiar with those guys.
Yep.
I'm sure. Like, I know Mike Galati is going to be down there. Are you guys doing a CFLC thing, Tom? Or
Yeah, we're working on that now.
okay. Well, then
Once we get the details figured out, then we'll share it with the group, and
maybe we can coordinate with
yes,
Republic,
we should.
and we can get, because I think
As
the
many-
Republic people would love having all these guys jump in. We got a spot, Alex, but we're wrapping up. Like we've had these guys for almost 2 hours.
I'll drop real quick. I appreciate the time. Thank you guys. This was fun.
All right, I got to go too, guys.
Yeah, you guys do your thing. Get out of here. Thank you
All right.
so much for your
Thanks, guys.
time. This was amazing.
See you, Terry.
Yes,
See you
sir.
guys.
Good one.
You guys are all free to go.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Chad.
I'll see you soon, Garrett.
Take care.
Zach, I'll see you soon too.
We gotta get Trout on here.
We do have Trout was a missing piece of this for sure.
So we
For
need-
sure.
I'll represent the class, but next time we'll have him too.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thanks,
Appreciate it,
Garrett.
man.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Terry.
Thanks.
You have a good night.
You too.
Aaron,
That was unbelievable.
what just happened?
That was unbelievable.
I had visions of how good that could be. There was nowhere close to that.
Well, and we have round 2 coming up relatively soon, correct?
We'll see. I don't like. We were gonna, because the Zoom format, we were able to do a ton of guys.
Right.
In this format, we were only able to have 10 people in the room.
Right.
I don't know exactly if we're gonna do a second one right now, but now that we've introduced something like this into the Bearcat
Universe.
Journal universe, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, really cool.
I'm still like I haven't stopped smiling for 2 hours.
It was a lot of cool stories, and I feel like the guys from PTP are already hitting me up like, we need to get this dude for an interview, like just one-on-one.
Dude, I want to give Ben Mauk his own fucking podcast.
Right, that's exactly what Jeff said. He's like, Ben Mauk, book it.
That guy, like he played quarterback, he's just slinging from the hip, bro.
Yeah. And
Oh my God.
he was just dropping jokes, and I don't know that everybody else in the pod even
Right.
caught him.
Right.
It's fantastic.
This is top 5 favorite podcasts we've ever done for me.
Very cool. I'm not terribly upset that Dave wasn't able to make it, and I had to step in. Drats.
Darn it. Had to hop in on a top 5 podcast ever and didn't really have to do much work.
Sure didn't.
That was the thing I was like, I didn't know about, was how would it go, like getting around, like developing, because remember, these are guys from the mid 90s, the late 90s, the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, the late 2000s. Like there weren't a lot of connections other than, obviously like the guys that played together.
Right.
But boy, that was awesome.
Some of them hadn't even really had discussions with one another prior to this. So that
They
was
had never met each other. They just popped on.
Super cool to be able to, be the vessel that allowed them to do that and to hear those stories.
I'm a happy camper tonight.
You should be.
That was fantastic. Thanks to whoever suggested. I don't remember now because a day for me feels like a week at this point in time. I don't remember who suggested it, but thank you for suggesting it because that was great. Thank you, Jeff, for the great work, boys. I appreciate it. And thank you, Alex, because Alex did do an amazing job. Like, I didn't handle the talent management of that. Alex Apien was the one that was like, we're going to get this guy, and we're going to get this guy, and we're going to get this guy. And some guys fell through, and some guys worked, and some guys didn't. And however it worked out, that was awesome. That was awesome. All right. Tomorrow, recruiting podcast with Mick.
Yep.
So we're going to get that done. The content never stops. I got practice in the morning. I'll be back at the bubble. Hopefully it doesn't smell like vomit this time. Hopefully they got the vomit issue cleared up.
Yeah.
That was a rough Tuesday.
It almost made me not upset that I had to wear a mask in there.
Right? No, the mask was a godsend.
My breath was better than
right. I brushed my teeth. I brushed my teeth in the morning. The mask was much better than the bubble.
Exactly.
All right, man. Thanks to the Holy Grail, as always. Thanks to Aaron. Thanks to those guys, all 7 of them. Wow. that was cool. We'll see you next time. It's the Holy Grail BCJ podcast, brought to you right here on BearcatJournal.com.
Sit.